Off me to back another one. Yo, Kendrick Lamar. Yes, Kendrick Lamar has done an interview with SZA. An unconventional type of interview that we're not really used to from male rappers, right? He did it with a female magazine called BAAZAR, right? And he allowed himself to be interviewed by none other than SZA. So we have the transcript here, and they're also talking about the fact that it was like a warm August. So this means that this was recorded around August in Santa Monica, and that's basically where the interview was placed at. So let's get straight into it. So apparently Lamar arrived in first baggy knee-length chino board shorts and yellow hoodie and a fitted cap splashed with a slogan about the beach. He asked the interviewer, well, not the interviewer, but the person who set it up, I guess the producer, he asked them a few polite questions about, the trip to LA, but they get a distinct feeling that he isn't the type to engage in small talk. So, they just got straight to basically the SZA information or the SZA stuff when SZA arrived a few moments later in a cloud of perfume. Apparently, she smelled a bit like the incense booths on the corner in Harlem. So you can just expect her to be very, very mystical, very spiritual, very down to earth. You know what I'm saying? So let's get straight into basically the transcript that we have from the interview themselves, BAAZAR magazine. Let's get straight into it. SZA, we shot a movie last night. I've never shot a movie before, so I was freaking out. It's a lot of being scared to be by myself. I'm either gonna pretend it never happened or not show up to the premiere. I met Cat Williams on set. He told me I was mentally ill, like as a compliment. He was like, "Sa, I believe you might have some mental," and I was like, "Illness?" And he was like, yes. He said, oh, welcome. I want to ask you about your mental health. Do you feel like you suffer from mental illness or experience it ever? Or do you feel like you're in a multitude of feelings and you're not putting a label on it? Kendrick Lamar then said, I grew up with that term. I was hearing it when I was 5, 6 years old. SZA, so you identify with it, but not as it? Kendrick Lamar said, my whole thing is it's all experience. I say some on the record and identify it with the moment, and then I don't identify it with it anymore. That's just growth for me. All of that shit is subjective. SZA then goes on to say, it's given self-therapy. Kendrick Lamar says, I think it's going back to my inner child, right? I was trying to understand myself, trying to find people I could relate to, how to identify myself outside of myself. It sounds crazy to a lot of people. I really can see myself out of my body. When I do that, I have no judgment towards it. It's too many eyes on me to remove myself. That's scary to anybody else. SZA said, are you scared? Kendrick Lamar said, no, because I've learned that I can identify with my performances on stage. I can hold my true whole identity to the person who's on stage. Because if I did, that means I will judge every moment, every time I lyric, every time I'm off key. It's too much to deal with. So I have to distance between the performer and the person I close my eyes and look at in the ceilings. I had to develop that tough skin at like 16 to 17 years old, not knowing it was not only for my career, but for myself. It's mentally ill for sure. SZA then said, it's very honest. Speaking of honesty and ego, have you done ayahuasca? Kendrick Lamar said, I haven't done it. SZA said, what? I wonder how you're arriving at all of these conclusions. I want to talk to you about your spiritual practices. How many spiritual practices contribute to your day to day? Kendrick Lamar said, all day, every day. SZA said, all day is ceremony? Kendrick Lamar said, ain't no bullshit. Ain't no cliche, but I literally talk to God. Like, it's to a point where I'll be starting to think I'm going crazy. But then he has to remind me, no, this is really me. My early morning practice is that I have to run. When I started running, that's where I started to understand there was this threshold of pain in the spirituality for me. I remember my shins was aching and I was like, I got 1 mile to go. Then I got whispers and downloads, started talking about I didn't know nothing about. And next thing you know, I'm 3 miles in, 4 miles in. I'll wake up and do that shit every day. SZA, loss of self? You have to break yourself. Kendrick Lamar, I have to. SZA then says, I'm grateful for the God T. Sidebar, what do you feel like is your top 3 contributing factors to self-transformation in the last few years? Kendrick Lamar then said, the power of honesty and being honest with myself, perspective about the person sitting across from me, and learning that vulnerability is not a weakness. That last one probably been one I'm still developing. SZA said, which one is the hardest? Kendrick Lamar said, the last one. SZA said, why? Kendrick Lamar then said, we talk about our childhood. I hate going back to it. It's traumatizing. My pops, he was tough. He was militant. As far as every day you are expected to go to work, take care of your family, get back up, do all over again. Being a man And he never showed no weakness. He never showed any emotion that could garner one up from the person sitting across from him. And I learned that experience not knowing I had the same traits, right? But for what I do, there is certainly no growth without vulnerability. If I understood the power of vulnerability earlier, I could have been more depth and more of reach to the guys that was around me in the neighborhood coming up. You know, our parents, they never had these outlets to express themselves the way they wanted to. I've always looked at us as somewhat of a beacon of hope for them. I always wanted to know, how does your mom feel about your self-expression? SZA says, you know, my mom grew up dark skinned in the 1950s. My mom integrated school in St. Louis. She made herself smaller to be polite and non-problematic. Audrey, and growing up in the burbs where we were one of the few black families, she kind of passed that to me. She developed this delightful energy that she really, truly does have. But also, I feel like deep down inside, she really needs to beat some ass and she'll feel better. When she told me about how she spends so much time monitoring herself, people be like, oh yeah, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams when you're talking about it's time to vote. But I'm an ancestor's wildest dream because I can be a big, and I'm okay with that. Because my mom wasn't allowed to be a big space or in the white spaces. And I feel like that's my duty to literally get in here and be like, I'm going to do what I want. And I feel like my mom at first was really uncomfortable with me saying crass things and behaving a certain way, right? And she was embarrassed, even though she was proud. And then something happened where it started to free her. She started moving things around in the house, designing the house, and being free. She didn't grow up with money or anything, so it was scary for her to think about renovating a crib or having something for herself. She never even imagined what her dream house could be, so it's like it scared her up. She was upset and embarrassed. But now she's like freed by Kendrick Lamar. You gave her that, SZA, and she gave it to me. When was the last time you cried? When was the first time you cried? Kendrick Lamar. I would say the last time I cried was probably on Mr. Morale, 2022, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. On the Mother I Saba record. That was deep for me. SZA, would you say you've done more crying recently than you have in your life? And Kendrick Lamar said, now, yeah, I have to. SZA says it's cleansing. Kendrick Lamar, it might be easier for you though. SZA, I cry all the time. I'm gonna cry right now because this is just beautiful. Wait, you didn't tell me when was the first time that you allowed it to happen? Kendrick Lamar, the first time I allowed it to happen is documented. I actually was on stage in 2011 when Dre and Snoop and the whole West Coast was out. And they was like, this is the torch that we're handing off. Dre passed me the torch and burst of energy just came out and I had to let it flow. My tears is all on the internet and now I look back and I love that moment. I love that that happened because it showed me in real time expressing myself and seeing all the work that I put forth actually come to life in that moment. SZA, that was emotional and pretty. What do you want for yourself now? What's your driving force? Do you feel like you've done it all? Do you feel like now it's all for the plot? Is the plot you? Is further self-discovery the plot? Is it domination? Kendrick Lamar. It's funny, I was asking myself this morning. I get fulfilled sharing my experiences with the youth and allowing them to hear these stories and hear these experiences and catch up to them. So to actually answer your question is communication just with people in general. And I feel like my work in music is just a start. I don't think it's my end goal. I know it's not my end goal. Music is just a vessel to get me there. SZA then said, do you have an idea of what you're supposed to do? Kendrick Lamar said, I don't. I'm curious. And that's what keeps me energized. SZA said, do you even have a desire specifically of what it should be? Or are you going to let God shape it for you? Kendrick Lamar said, I'm going to let God shape it. I love the mystery of it. I have to have it. I have to. The chase of it all. You know what I'm saying? SZA said, so you're teachable. Kendrick started laughing. Shut up. SZA said, you are. That's what I feel like I suffer from. I'm not teachable for real. That's my problem because I always be like either my fear or do some. I have a low pain tolerance but a high competition tolerance. I can't explain it. What is it that you want the most if you want for anything? Kendrick Lamar. Information. I want it all. I want the resources. I want to meet people smarter than me. I want to talk to them. I want them to show me things. I just want to be fulfilled with whatever this world has to offer. Hypes me up. Information. Nerve for that. You is too. SZA said, I am. Kendrick Lamar said, it's a mystery. I love it as a mystery. I love it. I love that the answers could be wrong or right. SZA, You have such a father time energy. It's very universal dad vibes. Actually, it's more universal sensei. It's almost gender ambiguous. It's father and mother because you actually seem quite in tune with your feminine energy. Do you consider yourself in touch with your feminine energy? Kendrick Lamar says, I have to balance both. At first, all I knew was masculinity, and I always kept the wall up because of my pops. But the more I delve deeper into my music and the more expressive I get with myself, that is the feminine energy right there. That's not the bravado that I grew up seeing all the time. This is who I am, the soft spoken me, and I have to own it. This is where my superpower lies because if my job is to communicate, I need to be able to communicate with everyone. I need to be able to sit down in front of SZA and talk to you in a way where you feel comfortable, in a way where it feels authentic from me to you, you to me. And I can't do that with a wall up. I can't do that with my full masculinity. SZA continued to say, can I ask you a hypermasculine question? You can also tell me to shut the F up. What does not like us mean to you? Kendrick Lamar started laughing. Not like us. Not like us is the energy of who I am, the type of man I represent. Now, if you identify with that man that I represent, SZA, break that man down for me. Kendrick Lamar. This man has morals. He has values. He believes in himself. He stands on something. He's not pandering. He's a man who can recognize his mistakes and not be afraid to share the mistakes and can dig deep down into fear-based ideologies and experiences to be able to express them without feeling like he's less of a man. If I'm thinking of not like us, I'm thinking of me and whoever identifies with that. SZA. Now, can I say something else in that realm or you want me to get away from that? Can I ask you something else? Kendrick Lamar, is it mean? SZA said, no, it's more so like, I thought it was really interesting that there was any consensus at all that you might be an angry individual. For me, I don't find that any energy that comes from you comes from an angry place. And actually, the last hour and change pretty much solidifies that it's almost from a yogic, monk-like place. So when you feel the surge of energy in records like that, where is that root? Is it anger? Kendrick Lamar then said, I don't believe I'm an angry person, but I do believe in love and war, and I believe they both need to exist. And my awareness of that allows me to react to things but not identify with them as who I am. Just allowing them to exist and allowing them to flow through me, that's what I believe. SZA, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Before I say something crazy, that basically concludes the entire interview between SZA and Kendrick Lamar, and basically their admiration for each other, and basically Kendrick Lamar tapping into his feminine side to embrace these qualities that he knows he has, and it's able to branch out or bring out a much more dominant role in his artistry. As you can see, he's become a lot more lyrical, but not also lyrical, very introspective. Mother I Saber was one of those songs that I cried too. It's just not for the story. It was just the fact that it was so impactful, the fact that it was relatable in certain instances, certain parts of it. He showed that you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable in order to make the best product of music that's true to self. And I feel like in this interview, he basically showed us how does he develop that. He talks to God in a very personal level to the point where he believes that that's his homie, that's his best friend. And a lot of us should feel that way. A lot of us should react that way. People want to turn the whole Drake beef into just a whole bunch of negativity about Kendrick Lamar, but Kendrick Lamar basically expresses negativity, his deepest, darkest moments. When has Drake ever expressed his deepest, darkest trauma? Look What You've Done was the closest to introspective Drake that we've ever gotten, and that was on Take Care, where he was like, look what you've done, like basically his parents to basically make him successful, but we don't know anything about what is his deepest, darkest insecurities or his deepest, darkest childhood traumas, and writing it in such a therapeutic way. That's why he said Not Like Us is basically that. Someone who can identify those lowest moments of self and basically grow from it and express it without trying to pander to different cultures and pretend to be something that they're not. Someone who's completely closed off of the fact that real artistry is within self-identity. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. This has been a great interview. And Kendrick Lamar really said some great things that I feel like a lot of people can really sit with and learn from if you really allow it to do that. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. It's being Boy from Me the Room, back with another one. Peace.